I pull up a chair and meet Roberta, a frosted blonde with flushed cheeks who ends about 40% of her sentences with the statement, "Well, I'm from New York," for example. I had to pull on the ponytail of a cab driver, a man, by the way, with a ponytail, because he was driving too fast. Well, I'm from New York, so... Most of the talk is about losing weight, and that's when Gina, an attractive blonde woman of about 45, asks me, "Have you lost a lot of weight, Beth?" I tell her, no, that I came with a friend, but I'm a big fan of Richard's, and the cruise sounded like fun. I realize as it's coming out of my mouth that this might be the answer. If you tell a fan of someone that you were also a fan of that person, they probably won't doubt you. They may try to demonstrate that they are a bigger fan than you, but they won't think you're lying. Plus, I quickly was becoming a fan. When my cereal and fruit arrived, Gina leans over and says, "So, have you ever had a weight problem, Beth?" I tell her no, and she looks a little disappointed, but then I realize it's just concern. "Oh, you must be so bored with all this talk about calorie counting and fat burning." Also, a lot of scars from people's lap band surgery. Just shown. Where's your lap band scar? Richard doesn't approve, by the way, just so you know. She tells me that a few years ago there was a recovering anorexic on board. Supposedly a few of the women made her feel unwelcome, and Richard went nuts, laying into them, pointing out that the cruise was for anybody with a desire to be healthy. Now I worry that Gina thinks I have a special problem. The part of me that needs to be lobotomized, this is the part I'm really getting in touch with. I think it's on the OCD spectrum, but it's just that part of your brain that always thinks of like the worst thing to say or do, and like it's not, you would never, you have impulse control, so I would never do them, but it's just like, that would be a terrible thing to happen. And so part of me really just wants to say, you know, Gina, I just think that if I could finally lose these last 15 pounds, I'd be perfect. But I don't say it. And then Terry and Barb, who are sitting there, who we ate dinner with every night, they're dirt farmers from rural Pennsylvania, and they were talking about, they had never had a mother-daughter dirt farmers, and they had never had a cappuccino. And they were like, "I've heard about this thing called the cappuccino, and I'm going to try it. You know what? Let's order one, Barb." So they get one, and of course, it's terrible. It's on the Carnival cruise ship, and they're just like, "I don't care what the big deal is about this," you know. And I was like, "Yeah, it's terrible." You know, it was awful. So that night, they have something, if you've ever been on a cruise, they have formal night. So that was that night. Walking across the ship to the dining room tonight is a special people-watching treat. Women of all ages and shapes wear floor-length gowns, backless, strapless, cleavage-enhancing. There are rhinestones, crystals, diamonds, a handful of tiaras. The ship's photographers are out in full force, posing couples all over the place, against giant backdrops of tropical sunsets or English gardens. Complete strangers compliment one another on their looks as they pass in the hall. We arrive last for dinner and find that our outfits fall squarely in the middle of the road for our table. We didn't bring anything nice. The Massachusetts ladies are all decked out, and this was a grandmother, her daughter, and the granddaughter, and then the grandmother's sister, and they had been on many, many cruises. Sequins reign supreme, and Tricia, the youngest one, having straightened her hair, looks striking in a sexy black strapless cocktail dress. Barb and Terry are wearing slacks and conservative blouses instead of their usual T-shirts. In between courses, Richard's travel agent, Linda, appears and ushers us to our exclusive photo session with Richard. She's about 50 and is positively svelte, with the demeanor of a beauty pageant contestant, gracious and composed, impeccable hair and makeup. "Okay, just keep things moving," she says, all business. "Richard has a lot of photos to take tonight, and he needs to eat his dinner too, so just go." We are led to the nearby Oxford Bar, a British-style smoking lounge with royal portraits and built-in bookcases, where Richard is waiting for us in a tuxedo, long-stemmed red rose in hand. It is shocking not to see him in shorts. Watching him pose for pictures while this close-up is pretty miraculous. Consummately professional, he creates for himself these perfect, relaxed smiles, shot after shot. When it's Jan's and my turn, we step into the lights, taking our places on either side of him against the backdrop, a scrolled-down poster of a grand wooden staircase. Richard notices Jan's new tattoo, which so far is just a quarter-sleeve outline of foliage on her upper left arm, and he says, "Oh, this is cool. Are you going to get that colored in?" "Yeah," she says, "it's not done yet." Though there are quite a few people waiting, and we were told to make it quick, Richard doesn't appear to be the least bit rushed. It's like Jan is the only person on Earth. So, what colors are you thinking of? He says, running his hand along the lines. There's no trace of his campy side at all. I'm thinking green for the leaves, and then maybe some red here, maybe pink. Oh, that would be pretty. Or maybe some purple. He turns her arm to get a better look at it. What do you think about purple? He looks into her eyes and then back at the lines on her arm. So intent is he that I step away to give him privacy. Though the word means teacher in Sanskrit, one Hindu etymology also interprets it as slayer of darkness. I love this, because to me, the histrionics and shtick of these gurus is a darkness. To see him turn that off to slay that darkness and instead be real is revelatory. Back at the table, our rock lobster, a compact and tough version of the arthropod, has arrived. The Northeasterners have every right to be talking smack about it. Suddenly, Jan goes, oh no, oh shit. I look over and she's holding her hand in front of her mouth, moving her tongue around. She chipped a crown off her front tooth on part of a lobster shell. Unable to face our table mates with half a front tooth, she heads back to the cabin and I fend for myself for the remainder of the meal. It's actually pretty easy because nobody asks me anything. They don't even inquire why Jan is left in the middle of dinner with half of her food still on her plate. And this was a really weird thing because we ate dinner with these people every single night for 7 nights, and they never asked us one thing about ourselves. And we learned what they did, what their husbands did, what their boyfriends did, where they grew up, what their, I mean, and I think it was because I'm married, but I don't wear a wedding ring, and our name tag said San Francisco. And I think that they thought we were gay, and they really just didn't want to know. Like, on the 4th night, Jan revealed that she had a cat. And I was like, ooh, Jan, getting personal with the, I mean, that was really like the only thing. I mean, I have a kid, no one, it was like none of that. Nobody, they were very nice, but no one wanted to know. And it's kind of like that with Richard. It's a real Liberace thing because Richard is not an out gay man. And so he would be walking by and some of the women would get really, oh, Richard was looking good tonight, and he would come by and he gives them a lot of affection and they know everything about Richard. And these people, he had a chandelier accident in a mall in the 80s and has a glass plate in his shoulder. They know how many hair plugs he has and how many treatments he had and when they took and when he had to stop getting the treatments. They can talk about every aspect of his life. It's funny because if you're really into somebody, one of the main things you want to know is, like, who are they doing it with? Like, what, like, who are they, and it was incredible, their ability to talk about every single thing about Richard except for his sexuality. So I think the same thing was going on with me and Jan. So when I bring up the big news from this morning's Rise that Richard may not do a cruise again next year, Edie shrugs it off. Oh, he says that every year. There's definitely some emotional manipulation at work. But even so, before going to bed, I say to Jan, I know this is kind of weird, but I'm really looking forward to seeing Richard tomorrow. I'm really excited to see him. I know, she says. I feel the same way. I'm going to leave it there. Thank you. I have one of my jobs that I do, I work for this company that delivers fresh fruit to offices. I dress up in a giant, I dress up in a giant banana suit. And this morning, actually, I was doing a job in San Francisco. It's raining and I'm hauling my banana suit and my coworker's banana suit with me on the BART. And then I get off the BART in San Francisco and I'm dragging him through the rain. And I get there, and she's not there yet, and I put on my banana suit, and it's like this health fair in this lobby of this building, and so we're handing out fruit to people, but they weren't, nobody was there yet except for the people setting up. So it's like the massage person and the people who take your blood pressure, and then just weird people, like there's life coaches that come and try to get people to sign up. Like, people are like going to their office jobs that a lot of them don't like so much, and they're just like, what do you want, trying to get people to do this. So I'm standing there and I get a phone call and I'm in my banana suit and it's the people from my publisher and they said, hey, you're going to be on the Today Show. And I was like, you're kidding. And they said, no, we're going to go. And I'm standing there totally, but my banana suit was all wet because I had it in this thing in the rain. So I'm in this soaking wet banana suit, like trying to tell somebody at the time, I'm going to be on the Today Show. But